Hey everybody, happy Friday. It is June 30th, and thank you so much for joining me for live stream number 22. If you're watching this right now, you are watching the recording of the live stream, and thank you so much for taking the time to chime in here and check this out. Again, if there's anything that you would like to see, down in the description area of the video, you will find my email address, lars.christensen@autodesk.com. Definitely send me an email if there's anything specifically you would like to see on these live streams. Today's topic is on CAM. Talk a little bit about fourth axis rotation on inside of Fusion 360. Now, I'm going to be gone for vacation next week. Yay me. But when I come back, we're actually going to attack a couple of modeling challenges that a couple of you have sent my way. So definitely chime back after the week of the 4th. And I can see we already got a couple of people in the live stream here, so that is awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join here on a Friday afternoon, where I am here in Buffalo, New York. But I can see we got people from Germany in here. Hello, Bruno. It's definitely not afternoon for you. It's got to be like late evening or something like that. So thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time. Again, down in the description area is my email address. Just shoot me an email if there's anything specifically you would like to see in these live streams, and we try to fit it in. Again, this is just me trying to add a little bit more value, hopefully, for you guys by doing these live streams, trying to keep them somewhat short. So, like I said, today is all about CAM. So if you're not into CAM with Fusion 360, take the Friday off, man. Kick back, have a beer, whatever. But let's jump into Fusion 360 because that's really where we want to be anyways. And let's talk a little bit about this part here. So, I'm going to move my mic a little bit closer. All right. So, this part here, something similar to this was something that there was one of the guys who was watching the live stream, and I forgot his name right now, a part somewhat similar to this, like a round cylinder with like 4 studs sticking up. And just because somebody's going to ask me how I modeled it, I just did this all in one sketch. So I did 2 circles, and then I did some rectangles. Extruded that out. And again, I don't even know what the person's sizes was on this whole thing again. Now, let's talk a little bit about fourth axis. So you can do fourth axis inside of Fusion. You can do it kind of like this, different ways, right? So there is what we will call mill turn, what also could be called live tooling. And then there is also, if you put something like an A-axis on your vertical machine, for example. And then, of course, if you have a horizontal machine, your tombstone might be spinning around, and that could be your fourth axis also. I believe that this example here was kind of like a mill turn or live tooling kind of scenario. So let's go into CAM and let's create a setup. So over in the operation type here, I'm going to turn this into a mill turn. And by the way, let me just point out here. So I'm gonna kind of like go through this part here and kind of like what we kind of like dealt with on this part. But just be aware, if you go over to your data panel and you scroll down to the bottom of this, down here you will find the CAM samples. And Alan Watmore have made sure that there's a lot of great different examples in here, and most of these, I believe, does have a Toolpath on it. So here, for example, is a live tooling part, and I was thinking about grabbing one of these out of there, but then I thought, you know what, it's almost more fun when it's like a real type case scenario, right? So if you look at the axis here, we got the z-axis, x-axis, and y-axis. On our turning machine, if we kind of like imagine this one maybe had live tooling. Now the first thing I want to show here is that my first approach when the guy reached out to me was, well, let's machine these kind of like 4 tabs, machining around those. And here I want to make sure that you are aware of a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to go in and actually grab, so even though this is a mill turn, I'm going to go in and grab the standard contour toolpath. So if you're not familiar, if you have never done multi-axis kind of stuff with Fusion before, but when you go into a standard toolpath, you will see on the second tab, on the geometry tab, there's actually something down here called tool orientation. So right now, our mill turn or turning machine or whatever we have this part in, we can see we got the X, Y, and Z coordinates down here. But this tool orientation will actually let us define a specific axis for our part. What means that, let me go back here and I'm just going to select the tool. It doesn't really matter. I'm just selecting a ball. No, 10 mil. You will see by default, of course, because it's a 2.5 axis toolpath, it defaults to this coordinate system. But if we go back into the geometry tab and I go to tool orientation, I actually get what you're used to seeing in the setup tab. So if I, for example, go over and select on this face, you will see that now I got a new origin, a new gnomon here, and I can control that just like you would in a normal case scenario doing your setup. So it's almost like a little setup within a tool operation. So just be aware of this. I should probably also add, to do some of this simultaneously machining with the 4th axis, you do need to have the ultimate package. Go back a few live streams and you will see we talked about the different tiers of Fusion 360. All right. So I just wanted, you definitely need to know that this tool orientation in there to set the orientation for the specific tool path that we're working with. In this case, it's a 2D contour. The other thing I want to show you is when it comes to contour selection. And when you select your contours, by default, you will see that Fusion will always try to select it will create a closed contour. That's the default. And this next thing here, open contour selection, there's absolutely no way you could figure this out unless somebody showed it to you. This is like one of these hidden ones, and I love showing it because you need to know it. Now, if I got a machine around this stud, I might be tempted right now just to select the top, right? If I select the top, I could go into my heights tab, and I could actually control the bottom to be somewhere down here, and that should give me something like I want. It's machining kind of like around that tab. But I want to show you this open contour selection because sometimes you don't have like an open square up here. So let's go back in to the geometry tab here. Let me X out of the chain. So you will see here that if I go and select this edge right here, by default, Fusion selected this whole boundary and it kind of like projected it down on this face here. Now here's the trick. I'm literally going to go and I'm going to select that edge that I kind of selected before. I'm going to repeat this in a second so you can see it, but I'm going to reselect it. And as soon as I do that, I get this little dialog box. And this is the open contour selection dialog box. And what that will let me do is actually do some advanced selections because I selected this edge right here. You can see that's kind of like light blue. If I want the toolpath to walk around that box, what I really wanted to select next was kind of like the hidden edge right here, right? That is not there. Well, what this open contour selection will let me do is it will actually let me select this edge up here, and this edge will now, when I'm done, will project down to this level. So I can actually go around and select this edge again, and then I can go over and select this upper edge, what is actually what I want down here, like this. And what you will see when I hit the green plus mark, it actually projects those two edges down. that is the open contour selection. And it's extremely important that you know this, because anytime you got to select chains where everything is not on the same plane, all the edges is not on the same plane, this will let it project it down. So let me just show it to you one more time. When I exit out of the chain here, so now it's like I never did anything. So when I select this edge, it automatically projects the closed contour, and it projects it down to here. I actually can't select it up here. I have to select that edge again, and then this open or this light blue ends up, and now I can go around. I can select this one because that's the edge that I would like to get projected down here, and I'm going to machine or click around here and up here, and then when I remember to hit the plus sign, and then it will project it down. So this open contour selection, I have a couple of videos on it. Email me if this is kind of like a little, seems a little strange, but now I can actually go back over here, and instead of having selection over here, I can go back to what is normal, what is the selected contour, that's the default, and I will get kind of the same thing. So I hope that this is kind of like helpful. This is definitely one of those, and this works also for like 2.5 axis. So if you're just watching along here, I hope that is helpful. Now another thing that I then would have done with this part is you can actually go in here and right click on the operation, and then you can go in and add it to new pattern. So I right click right on the toolpath, add to new pattern, and over here in the dialog box you get different patterns. And if you're familiar with CAD, you are familiar with all the different options that what pattern means. Just to answer quickly one question in here, this contour selection that I'm doing right now with the open contour, that is not just for ultimate. That works in all of it. The only thing that is ultimate here is if you want to do fourth axis rotation on your you want to do like simultaneous machining with your fourth axis, where we're going to get to a little point. But what I can do here is I can select circular pattern, and if I select this edge, I can actually put in the amount of instances I want, and now you will see that I have those 4 tabs because the equal distance all in here, and they are now, you will see here that you will get the 4 tabs machined. Now, of course, your post is going to have to support the 4th axis, and I'm going to talk a little bit about post in the end here before we finish it up. But that was the pattern function in here. So that is happening right in the right-click menu also. You can add these different patterns. So this is also great if you have like, a 2.5 axis toolpath. Let's say that you have like, you lay a bunch of parts out. You can just machine one contour, and then you can just literally just pattern them all in all different directions. So I hope that this is kind of helpful. So the open contour is definitely something you need to know about, and the patterning, that's a really helpful tool that works in there, and that works in all the different environments. So this was what I kind of like showed one of you guys who was in the live stream. Now then I got the feedback, well, I was really looking to machine all the stuff between here. So let's talk a little bit about wrapping features inside of Fusion, because this will be considered a wrap to do this. So let's go in and apply that. Now I will still use, well, actually, so I gotta throw a thank you out to Tim Paul. So many of you guys know Tim. He's a great guy who knows a lot about machining. We kind of like collaborated on this a little bit, because my next instance was saying, well, I love adaptive clearing. Let's throw that on there. And again, you will see as soon as I select that, it defaults to the default setup origin. So we were going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to go into the geometry tab. We're going to use the tool orientation to place this live tooling example with the direction that we want. So now we got that here. And then there is this wrap feature sitting up here. Now when you select the wrap feature, what you're doing is you're saying, let my toolpath follow kind of like this cylinder. So I'm going to select this cylinder right here, but I still have not selected what I am going to machine at this point. That will still be your pocket selection. So the wrap just tells the software what surface is going to kind of like wrap the toolpath around. So I'm going to go up and select pocket, and I'm going to select this this edge right here. And many times when I'm working inside of Fusion, many times I just hit OK to see what I get. So here I get a adaptive clearing, and a couple of things to add into this. First of all, it comes in with a helix here. And actually, now when I'm talking about Tim Paul, I'm pretty sure Tim Paul were the contributor or the hero, whatever you want to say. On the linking tab, be aware when you do the helix, when you do your lead in, lead out, that you can add a ramping angle in here. So it's ramping in on an angle. That's extremely helpful. So thank you. I'm pretty sure Tim is the cause for that. So that's awesome. Now, one of the things, though, as we were looking at this toolpath, is that when I simulate it, you will see that it does pretty much what I kind of want, that it's removing the material between the two slots here, right? And that was what I wanted. But I really didn't want it as a pocket. I kind of would like it to work from the outside and in. So then, instead of using 2D adaptive, let's get rid of that. So highlight that and hit delete. Let's go back and use the 2D contour I used before. Again, I'm going to go and leave the same tool. I'm going to go into the Geometry tab. I'm going to select Tool Orientation, right? Because you're going to have to do that to make sure that our tool is pointing in the right direction to our axes. I'm going to go ahead and select Wrap Function again, and I'm going to select that same cylinder. And then for my contour selection, I'm actually going to go in and do what I kind of did before. What is to go in and select these different axes here. I don't want them as 3 axes. Let's see. So we got the wrap around that face, and we can select them as individual. There we go. So we can use this open pocket again. Let me just do that again so you see that. So I selected one edge. Now if I select all 3 just like this, you see what it does? It does it as like 3 different chains, what means that the toolpath, when I hit OK, will actually, oh, it actually does what it was supposed to do. It comes in here and follows. Oh, I thought it would be making it into 3 different lines. That's all good. Fusion figured that out. Well, what I did in the second round was, let me just select one edge. I'm going to go in and select it again, and then I can select open contour. Now I have this open contour again, and I can select the remaining 2 edges. Same result. One chain, just an opening here. And so now you will see when the toolpath comes in, it's going to come in kind of from the side and machine, up like this here. Okay? Now, of course, I really don't want this here. I want to do more than that. So you could go in and you could turn on like roughing passes in here, and you could make, I don't know, some kind of a step over and a multiple, I don't know how many steps. You could add in here maybe a little bit bigger step over. Whatever floats your boat, right? So now we got something where it is coming in. Well, the first one is not touching. Second one is not either. But then we kind of like, now we got like more of what, I would somewhat like to see. And this is, like I said before, and you will see I do this a lot, especially with Cam. I hit OK. I don't go in and change a bunch of settings. I actually just go in and hit OK and see what I get, and then we can tweak it from there. Because like right now you might look at it and say, all right, why is the tool racing up so high every time? That's a waste of time. So then I go back in, edit the toolpath, and maybe if I go to the linking tab, I can say keep tool down, hit OK again, and see now you can see that it stays down. Another thing that might work here, if you go into edit this toolpath again, is you have something called stock contours. And by the way, if I hover over it, it will kind of like show you a little help. So right now, this tool is kind of like staying within the boundary of the stock that was specified in the first operation. Many times you see that if you narrow that down, you actually see right now it's just kind of like doing the whole part of stock. But if I check stock contour and I select this edge here, so now that is my stock, we might see a little bit of now is a little bit of better tool path coming into to this part here. First one is still not touching, but now the second one is touching here. And that actually, I think, I'm pretty pleased, I think, with this. This is not terrible. So just again, like tweaking it in step by step like this can be helpful. Now, one thing though, the last two passes, we got the finish passes. Last two passes here, here's another trick. If you hold down your left mouse button, you can actually move your simulation with the mouse. So in simulation space, if you hold down your left mouse button and you move your mouse from side to side, look at this. That's a nice trick if you didn't know that. So one of the things I notice here though is, so I'm really happy with this tool path, but I really want the tool to go past a little bit maybe, right? So one way to get around that might be going back into your contour operation, and you can actually, in the passes tab, let's make this 9-step over instead. In here, there is the stock to leave. So you might be tempted to go in here and say, I don't want any actual stock, but on my radial stock, you can actually go minus on your stock. You just limit it to your radius of your tool. So if I go in now and I simulate this, let's get down to the end here. Dun, dun, dun. See now you see how now it's actually going past right here. So that kind of like achieves that that area, right? But you will see that now it actually also is going to cut into the stock. So stock to leave in this point, yeah, that's not really going to work. So let me show you another trick that I actually kind of like to use fairly often. So let me turn the stock to leave off. And for this, we're actually going to go back to into the modeling space in here. And here is a neat trick. I was talking yesterday about the patch workspace. And, I don't think that CNC programmers have to become, surface specialists. But I want to show you this little trick here. If I go into the patch workspace, so now it's surfaces I'm working with. If I go down, there's an option under the create called offset. I can create an offset of a surface, but if I leave the offset value at 0, I will actually copy the surface, make a copy of that surface. So let me just hit offset, and I'm just going to select this surface here. We're machining, but I'm not going to put any value inside of this. When I hit OK, we now have a copy of that surface sitting right on top of our body. If I just hide the body for a second, we have this surface plane sitting here. And if I go under the modify, I can actually extend it. So now I can actually extend this surface out some percentage that I maybe wanted to go a little bit past our body. Now turn the body back on. See how now this surface, or the surface here is actually, see how it's going past by that, it's a copy of it. And now if I go back into CAM, and we go into our toolpath here, now if I replace all my selections with this surface instead, we have kind of like achieved what we want, right? That surface is kind of like a, this new surface here is kind of like just a CAM surface maybe. So let me just go in and redo it. That's maybe easier because now I can't remember what settings I turned on. So let's go ahead and do another contour. The tool is fine. Go into the geometry tab. The first thing we're always going to do is the tool orientation, right? Making sure that this live tool knows what is up and down, so it's not following what we have for our mill turn, for like the lathe kind of thing. The next thing is the wrap. So what do we want this contour toolpath to wrap around? That's going to be, now I'm just going to use that surface we created. And when it comes to contour selection, I am also going to select that surface again. Now because this whole surface is actually selecting the whole thing again, because like I said before, Fusion want to select the whole boundary. So then we just reselect the edge, and we can switch over here in the open contour mode and just select those 3 edges. Remember to hit the plus sign. And like I said before, many times when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I just hit OK and see what I get. And in this case here, you will see that I get a wrap toolpath that is machining on the outside of this. That's fine. Then I just go in and I just make my changes individually. So instead of getting in the habit of just making a ton of changes and then can't figure out why certain things don't work, by doing one at a time, you are kind of going in and making sure that you are not, getting yourself all, tied up, and you suddenly don't really know what each thing is. So this looks pretty good here. And then the last thing was like these rapid lead in, and anything that has to do with the cutter engage the material is on the passes tab. Everything that has to do with the cutter approaching the material is on the linking tab. And here I just use the keep lift down, and then you will see that it's going to come in, it's going to keep it down on the outside until the last 2 passes here. And the last 2 passes are really, that is all controlled on the heights tab. So I mean, here you got the control where you can control all about, your retract and how all that is going. But this here is really, I think, a fairly decent toolpath to machine this material on the outside. So it's going to kind of like going in here and just work its way out. And I selected a cutter. I didn't, I was more worried about getting the toolpath, to something that was acceptable for that. And again, thanks Tim for kind of like jumping in on this too, and kind of like making sure that I showed something that's about true. But now you will see that it will compass that edge on our part. Last thing I'm going to just talk about now, when we're talking about this, is post. Because if you go up here and you hit the post processing tab, I have it on the screen, be aware of you have all these different posts that comes within Fusion 360. But actually down here, right here, is a link out to the online post library. If you click on that, you will see, bring it from another screen over here, you will see the online. You can just search on Google Autodesk CAM post and this site will show up. And in here you will see all the different posts that the post team are working on, including posts that has the 4th axis in them. And in here you can download them, load them in. You can do, you can get a little sample piece so you can take a look at it. You can actually see in here the recent changes and things like that. All right, I'm just coming up on the half an hour mark, and I really would like to keep them within this because I know you got stuff to do too. So I hope that this was kind of helpful. Again, if you came in a little bit late, this is recorded. It's going to be up on the YouTube channel. I would love to get your feedback on this if this was useful. You have the buttons, thumbs up, or if you don't like it, hey, hit the thumbs down. Any comments are always more than welcome. And then, of course, like I said, I'm going to be taking a week's vacation. Yay me. So these live streams are not going to be back until after the next week. And we will pick right up again, I think, on these live streams. That will be live stream number 23, starting that. I think I'm going to try to start that Monday. It's going to be a couple of modeling cases that you guys have submitted, so I really appreciate that. Don't forget my email address is down in the description area. Always shoot me an email, lars.christensen@autodesk.com. You can always find them there. Let's just take a look in here. Just make sure that you guys have any specific questions. Dude, I really appreciate you guys jumping in here on a Friday afternoon, man. Mexico is here. That's awesome. Make a whole video on designing a engine. That's quite a project. I got a comment this morning about designing a car. I am not sure that I am up for that challenge, to be honest with you. But maybe, we can work on portions of an engine. I'll be up for that. So, Tony, I hope that this helped a little bit with your questions in regards to live tooling on the lathe. Bob is in here. Thank you so much for jumping in here. We got California. And what is the point of a vertical lead, as Stuart? So the vertical lead can be approaching in from the top versus, actually, you know what, the easiest thing to do, it really depends on, it really depends on what kind of case scenario you are in here. And I might just have to think about that one, Stuart, like to come up with a good explanation on that. But normally if you hover over these, you do get the different lead-in, kind of like lead-out options. I use these a lot to kind of like just making sure that I get these. So the vertical lead-in radius right here, depending on where you're approaching the material, that could be useful. I have actually also, you can use it to get, oops, I didn't want to move the mouse. You can use it to get further away from the material, right? So that can be the point of that lead-in angle, lead-in vertical angle. Maybe there's something else to add in there. More videos on patch. Could definitely do some more surfacing in there. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump in here. I know that you have a ton of things to do, so I really appreciate it. Don't forget, send me an email if there's any other things you can think of that could be useful for me to show you. This is really just to try to add some more value. So what I'm going to do is, as normal, I'm going to end the broadcast. So if you're watching the recording, thank you so much. And I'm going to jump in the live stream chat. Really appreciate everybody who throw everything they have and come in here on a Friday afternoon. Thank you so much, guys. Have an awesome week. And 4th of July if you are celebrating that in the U.S. Thank you, guys.